Captain Jai-Ho Park stood at the large window of his ship, the Star Guardian. The blue and green Earth looked beautiful from space. After 40 years of protecting Earth and its colonies, today was his last day as a captain. Jai-Ho touched the cold glass of the window. His gray hair and the small wrinkles around his eyes showed in the reflection. He smiled, thinking about all the years he had spent on this ship. The Star Guardian had been his home for so long. "Captain, may I come in?" A soft voice came from behind him. It was Hana Kim, his friend and second-in-command for the past 15 years. "Of course, Hana," he said, turning around. His office was simple but neat. A few pictures of Earth's oceans hung on the walls. There was also a small plant from his hometown in Korea, which had traveled with him across the stars. Hana walked in holding a tablet. "The crew is ready for the farewell ceremony, sir. They're waiting in the main hall." She paused and added with a warm smile, "They wanted to keep it quiet and simple, just as you like it." Jai-Ho nodded thankfully. He had never been one for big, loud celebrations. "Thank you, Hana. You know me well." As they walked through the ship's corridors, memories filled Jai-Ho's mind. He remembered his first day as captain, how nervous he had been. Now, every turn and every door felt like an old friend saying goodbye. The main hall was usually used for mission briefings, but today it was different. The crew had put up a few simple decorations. A banner that read, "Thank you, Captain Park," hung at the front. About 50 crew members stood in neat rows, all wearing their best uniforms. When Jai-Ho entered, they all stood straight and saluted. He saw many familiar faces, people he had worked with, trained, and protected for years. Some had tears in their eyes, but they all wore proud smiles. Yum-Ho, the ship's cook, had prepared Jai-Ho's favorite meal, bibimbap with vegetables grown in the ship's garden. It was a perfect mix of his Korean heritage and their life in space. During the meal, crew members shared simple stories about their time with the captain. They talked about how he had always been fair and kind. They remembered times when his calm thinking had saved them from danger. No one mentioned the battles or the hard times. Instead, they focused on the peaceful moments they had shared. "Captain," Hana said, standing up with a small wooden box in her hands, "we have something for you." She opened the box to reveal a beautiful compass made of silver. It's not just any compass. It's connected to the Star Guardian's navigation system. Wherever you go in retirement, you'll always know where we are. Jai-Ho carefully picked up the compass. It was heavy in his hands, and its silver surface caught the light. The needle pointed steadily toward Earth. His eyes felt wet, but he smiled. "Thank you, all of you," he said, his voice steady but full of feeling. "Being your captain has been the greatest honor of my life. But more than that, being part of this family has been my greatest joy." After the ceremony, Jai-Ho returned to his office one last time. He packed his few belongings, the plant, the pictures, and now the compass. Tomorrow, he would leave for Serenity Colony, a peaceful planet where it always rained softly. Hana helped him carry his boxes to the shuttle bay. Before he left, she hugged him tightly. "The ship won't be the same without you, Captain." "You'll do well, Hana," he said, knowing she would probably be the next captain. "Just remember to take care of our family." As his shuttle pulled away from the Star Guardian, Jai-Ho watched the great ship grow smaller. The compass in his pocket pointed toward it, steady and true. He wasn't sad. Instead, he felt ready for his next adventure, one that would be quieter, but just as meaningful. The Earth turned slowly below, beautiful and peaceful. Jai-Ho Park, no longer a captain but always a protector, headed home one last time. The transport ship landed softly on Serenity Colony under a light drizzle. Jai-Ho Park stepped out, feeling real rain on his face for the first time in many years. The air smelled fresh and clean, very different from the recycled air of spaceships. Serenity Colony was famous for its rain. The weather systems had been carefully designed to create gentle rainfall almost every day. Scientists had found that the rain here had special minerals that helped people feel calm and happy. Jaiho looked around the spaceport. It was small and simple, with gardens everywhere. Purple grain fields stretched far into the distance. The buildings were low and spread out, many of them built in traditional styles from Earth. A young woman waited for him near the exit. She held a clear umbrella and wore the badge of a colony guide. "Welcome to Serenity Colony, Mr. Park. I'm Mira Choi, and I'll show you around today." Myra drove Jaiho through the colony in a quiet electric car. The roads were made of special materials that didn't splash water when it rained. They passed many houses, each with its own garden. Some grew earth plants, while others had strange but beautiful alien flowers. "Most people here are retired," Myra explained. "We have doctors, teachers, space pilots, and even some alien friends who chose to live here. Everyone comes for the peace and quiet." They stopped at several houses that were for sale, but none felt right to Jaiho. Then Myra mentioned something interesting. "There's one more place. It's a bit far from the town center, but I think you might like it." The last house stood on a small hill overlooking the purple grain fields. It was built in the style of a traditional Korean hanok, with curved roof tiles and wooden walls. A wraparound porch would let him sit outside even when it rained. "This house was built by another Korean family," Myra said. "They moved closer to their grandchildren last month. The garden is already set up with rain collectors, and there's a small workshop in the back." Jaiho walked through the house slowly. The wooden floors felt warm under his feet. Large windows let in plenty of light, and he could hear the soft patter of rain on the roof. The main room had a perfect spot for his old plant from the ship. In the kitchen, he found a traditional tea set left by the previous owners. The bedroom faced east, just as he liked. But what really caught his attention was the view from the porch. The purple grain fields moved like waves in the wind, reminding him of Earth's oceans. "The rain is heaviest in the morning," Myra told him. "But it's always gentle. Many people say it helps them sleep better." Jaiho took out his compass, the farewell gift from his crew. The needle spun for a moment before pointing up toward where the star guardian would be. He smiled, feeling at peace. "I'll take it," he said simply. The paperwork was easy to complete. By evening, Jaiho sat on his new porch with a cup of tea, watching the rain fall on his garden. His few boxes from the ship sat unpacked inside, but there was no rush. He had all the time in the world now. A small bird with iridescent feathers landed on his porch rail, shaking off the rain. It looked at him curiously before flying away toward the grain fields. Jaiho smiled. Already, this place felt more like home than his quarters on the ship ever had. As darkness fell, the colony's lights came on softly, designed not to disturb the natural beauty of the evening. The rain continued its gentle pattern, and Jaiho found himself growing sleepy. The happiness minerals in the rain were working their magic. Tomorrow, he would unpack his things and start learning about his new home. But for now, he was content to sit and listen to the rain. Finally at peace after 40 years among the stars, Jaiho woke up to the sound of gentle rain on his roof. His first morning in his new home felt peaceful. As he made his morning tea, he heard a soft knock at his door. An older woman stood there, holding a covered basket. She wore practical gardening clothes and had earth under her fingernails. "Good morning. I'm Sujai Lee, your neighbor from the blue house next door. I brought you some breakfast." Jaiho invited her in. Sujai put the basket on his kitchen counter and opened it. Inside were fresh bread and some strange but delicious-looking purple fruit. "These are dawn berries," she explained. "They grow only in the rain. I have a small garden where I study both earth plants and alien ones." They sat on his porch, eating breakfast and watching the rain. Sujai told him about life in the colony. She had been a scientist who studied alien plants before retiring here 10 years ago. Now she kept a garden and helped the colony grow food that combined the best of earth and alien crops. "You should meet Tu Young," Suji said. He runs the bakery in town. He makes the most wonderful bread using our local grain. His house is the one with the red roof across the field. Later that day, when the rain lightened to a soft drizzle, Jeho walked to the bakery. The smell of fresh bread filled the air. Inside, a cheerful man with flour on his apron greeted him. "Welcome. You must be our new neighbor. I'm Do Young Choi," he said with a warm smile. "Would you like to try today's special? It's bread made with purple grain and earth spices." The bread was delicious, warm and fragrant. Do Young explained how he learned to bake with alien ingredients. "It took many tries to get it right," he laughed. "But now people come from other colonies just to taste it." As they talked, more neighbors came to the bakery. Each one greeted Jeho kindly. They asked simple questions about his life, but didn't pry when he kept his answers brief. They seemed to understand his need for quiet. An elderly woman entered the bakery, and everyone respectfully made way for her. "Ah, our new resident," she said, looking at Jeho with kind eyes. "I am Sang Mei-o, an elder of the Colony Council. Welcome to our little community." Elder Sangmei had a gentle way of speaking that made Jeho feel at ease. She told him about the colony's history, how it started as a place where humans and aliens could learn from each other. "Now it's a home for those who seek peace," she said. "We're happy you chose to join us." Back at his house that evening, Jeho sat with Suji on his porch again. They watched the sunset paint the rainy sky in beautiful colors. Suji pointed out different plants in her garden, explaining how some glowed softly in the evening light. "Tomorrow, if you'd like," Suji offered, "I can help you start your own garden. The rain makes everything grow well here." Jeho thought about his small plant from the ship, still sitting in its pot inside. Perhaps it would like a bigger home in the garden. "I would like that," he said quietly. That night, as Jeho prepared for bed, he heard the distant sound of Do Young's evening bells, calling the last customers from his bakery. The rain continued its gentle pattern on his roof. From somewhere in Suji's garden came the soft chirping of evening insects. For the first time in many years, Jeho felt truly at home. He wasn't just a retired captain anymore. Here, among these kind people, he could simply be himself. 3 months after Jeho arrived at Serenity Colony, the special rainy season began. The morning rain became warmer and carried more of the calming minerals that made the colony famous. The air felt different, filled with a gentle energy that made everyone smile more. Jeho noticed the change one morning while drinking his tea on the porch. The raindrops felt softer on his skin, and their sound on the roof was more musical than before. His whole body felt relaxed in a way he had never experienced during his years in space. Suji came over that morning, carrying her usual basket of fresh berries. "The healing rain has started," she said, sitting next to him. "This is why many people choose to live here. The rain during this season has special properties that help heal both body and mind." Jeho understood what she meant. The tight muscles in his shoulders, which had bothered him for years after long days commanding his ship, felt looser. Even his old knee injury from his early military days hurt less. During the rainy season, Suji explained, "We have a tradition. Every morning, people sit outside and let the rain wash away their worries. Some meditate, others just rest. Would you like to try?" The next morning, Jeho woke up early. He set up a comfortable chair on his porch and, following Suji's advice, simply sat in the gentle rain. He didn't wear a raincoat or use an umbrella. The warm drops fell on his face and hands, and each one seemed to carry away a small piece of his stress. He thought about his years as a captain, all the responsibilities he had carried. As the rain fell, those memories became lighter, less heavy on his heart. He could remember the good times without feeling the weight of command anymore. Soon, Jeho made this his daily practice. Every morning, he would sit in the rain for an hour. Sometimes Suji joined him, and they sat in peaceful silence. Other times, Do Young would bring fresh bread, still warm from his oven, and they would share breakfast as the rain fell around them. One morning, Elder Sangmi visited during his rain meditation. She smiled when she saw him sitting quietly in the rain. "You have learned our ways quickly," she said. "The rain is teaching you its wisdom." Jai-ho noticed changes in himself as the rainy season continued. He slept better at night. His dreams were no longer filled with moments from his military career, but instead showed peaceful scenes of purple fields and gentle rain. He smiled more often, and his voice became softer. The plant he had brought from his ship seemed to love the rainy season too. It grew bigger than it ever had on the spaceship, its leaves reaching toward the rain. Suji helped him plant it in his garden, where it thrived among the local plants. Even the sound of thunder, which used to remind him of space battles, became soothing. The colony's storms were gentle, with soft rumbles that felt more like a lullaby than a threat. Ji-ho found himself looking forward to stormy days. As the rainy season reached its peak, Ji-ho realized something important. The rain wasn't just falling on the outside. It was washing away years of tension and responsibility from inside him too. For the first time since he was a young man, before his military career, he felt truly peaceful. One evening, as he sat watching the sunset through the rain, Ji-ho took out his compass. The needle still pointed to where the star guardian patrolled among the stars. But now, instead of feeling a pull toward his old life, he felt content exactly where he was, here in the healing rain of Serenity Colony. One quiet morning, as Ji-ho tended to his growing garden, Elder Sangmei came to visit. She carried a formal-looking folder and wore the simple gray robe that marked official colony business. The rain fell softly around them as she explained her visit. "The Colony Council needs your help, Ji-ho," she said, her voice gentle but serious. "Our weather monitoring system requires attention. We know you had experience with similar systems on your ship." Ji-ho listened carefully as Elder Sangmei explained the situation. The colony's weather system controlled the special rain that made their home unique. It needed regular maintenance and training of new operators. The current instructor had become ill, and they needed someone with technical experience. "We are not asking you to return to full work," Elder Sangmei assured him. "Just a few hours each week, teaching the younger members how to read the weather patterns. The rain must continue its gentle fall for everyone's well-being." Ji-ho looked at his garden, where earth plants and alien flowers grew together in the healing rain. He thought about how this place had helped him find peace. Perhaps it was time to give something back. "I will help," he said simply, "but I would like to teach in my own way." The next day, Ji-ho visited the Weather Control Center. It was a small building near the edge of the purple grain fields. Inside, 3 young colonists waited to learn from him. They looked nervous, but Ji-ho gave them a gentle smile. "The rain is like a friend," he began, remembering how he used to teach new officers on his ship. "We do not control it. We work with it, guide it help us." He showed them the weather monitors, explaining each reading in simple terms. When one student, a quiet young man named Taiwan, asked about emergency procedures, Ji-ho shared stories from his space experience, but focused on peaceful solutions. As the days passed, Ji-ho found joy in teaching. It was different from commanding a starship. Here, there was no pressure, no emergencies. He could take time to explain things carefully, watching his students grow in confidence. The students started coming to his house for tea after their lessons. They sat on his porch, listening to the rain while discussing weather patterns. Sometimes Suji would join them, adding her knowledge about how the rain affected different plants. One morning, Taiwan noticed something unusual on the monitors. Instead of panicking, he remembered Ji-ho's teachings. Working calmly, he adjusted the system, keeping the rain gentle and soothing. Ji-ho watched proudly, seeing how well his student had learned. Elder Sangmi visited again a month later. She found Ji-ho and his students sharing tea and discussing the day's weather readings. The scene made her smile. "You have done more than we asked," she said. "You have taught them not just about weather, but about peace." Jaiho understood what she meant. In teaching others about the rain, he had learned something too. He could share his experience without returning to his old role as a commander. He could help others while keeping his own peace. That evening, as Jaiho sat on his porch, he watched his students walking home through the gentle rain. They moved confidently now, understanding the weather patterns that kept their colony safe and peaceful. He felt content, knowing he had found a new way to serve, one that matched the quiet life he had chosen. The morning rain fell steadily as Jaiho stood in his garden, looking at the empty space behind his house. Sujai had helped him grow many plants, but this area remained unused. As he watched the rainwater collect in small puddles, an idea began to form in his mind. Mireille, Du Young's daughter who had first shown him the house, visited that afternoon bringing fresh bread from her father's bakery. She found Jaiho drawing plans on paper at his kitchen table. "What are you designing?" she asked, setting down the bread. Jaiho showed her his drawings for a special rain garden. He explained how on Earth, people built gardens that collected and used rainwater in smart ways. "Could you teach me about this?" Mireille asked, her eyes bright with interest. "I'm studying colony maintenance, and water management is important here." Jaiho agreed, and they began work the next day. They started by measuring the land and marking where the rain fell most heavily. Mireille brought knowledge about local soil and plants, while Jaiho shared what he knew about water systems from Earth. They dug channels in the soil, lining them with smooth stones from the colony's quarry. Jaiho showed Mireille how to angle each channel so the water would flow naturally. "On my ship, we had to use machines for water movement," he explained. "But here, we can work with nature." Suji joined their project, bringing plants that would help clean the water as it flowed through the garden. She taught them about alien plants that could pull helpful minerals from the rain, making the water even better for other plants. As they worked, Mireille told Jaiho about growing up in the colony. "Father says the rain is like music," she said, patting soil around a new plant. "Each season has its own song." Jaiho understood this now. The rain's gentle sound had become the soundtrack to his new life. The garden grew quickly under the constant rain. They'd built small pools where the water could collect, adding local fish that kept the water clean. Jaiho installed simple bamboo pipes that made soft, musical sounds when water flowed through them. Other colonists began visiting to see their work. Many asked questions about building similar gardens. Jaiho found himself sharing simple diagrams and advice, just as he had once shared knowledge about weather systems. One corner of the garden became a special place for Jaiho's plant from the ship. It grew larger than ever, its roots spreading into the rich soil. Mireille helped him build a small shelter around it, protecting it from the heaviest rains while letting it feel the gentle drops. Elder Sangmi visited when the garden was nearly finished. She walked the winding paths, listening to the water music and watching the fish swim in the clear pools. "You have created more than a garden," she said. "You have built a place of peace that others can share." The garden became a quiet meeting place. Jaiho's weather students often stayed after their lessons, helping to maintain the plants and learning about water management. Du Young brought fresh bread to share as they worked. Even some alien residents visited, fascinated by this blend of Earth traditions and colony practices. One evening, as Jaiho and Mireille finished adding the last water channel, she said something that made him smile. "This garden is like you, Jaiho. It takes what the rain offers and turns it into something beautiful for everyone." Jaiho looked at their work in the fading light. The garden captured the rain's gifts and shared them, just as he now shared his knowledge and experience. In teaching Mireille and building this space, he had found another way to give back to his new home. The morning of Serenity Colony's 50th anniversary arrived with a perfect, gentle rain. Jaiho woke early to help with the preparations. The colony had spent months planning this special day, and everyone had a role to play. Elder Sangmai had asked Jaiho to help organize the celebration. His experience with managing large groups, combined with his calm nature, made him perfect for the task. He worked with both human and alien residents to create an event that would honor all their traditions. The main square transformed into a beautiful gathering space. Du Young and other bakers set up stands with foods from different worlds. The scent of fresh bread mixed with exotic spices filled the air. Suji and her team decorated the square with glowing plants from their gardens. Jaiho designed special rain shelters with Mei Rei's help. These shelters, made of clear materials that sparkled in the rain, let people stay dry while still feeling connected to the colony's constant rainfall. The raindrops made musical sounds as they hit the shelter roofs. Residents began arriving in the morning. Many wore traditional clothes from their home worlds. Jiho put on a formal Korean hanbok that Elder Sangmei had helped him choose. The silk fabric felt smooth against his skin, so different from his old captain's uniform. The celebration began with Elder Sangmei's welcome speech. She stood under the largest rain shelter, her voice clear and strong. 50 years ago, humans and aliens chose this planet to create something new, a place of peace. Today, we celebrate not just our survival, but our success in living together in harmony. Throughout the day, different groups shared their traditions. Alien musicians played instruments that made sounds like falling rain. Human children performed traditional dances from Earth. The rain fell steadily, adding its gentle music to every performance. In Jaiho's rain garden, visitors gathered to see how Earth's water management traditions worked with alien plants. Mei Rei led tours, proudly explaining how they had built the garden to honor both human and alien ways of working with water. Du Young prepared a special anniversary bread using purple grain and spices from 3 different worlds. When people tasted it, they smiled in surprise at how the different flavors worked together, just like the colony's different groups had learned to live as one community. During the afternoon, Jaiho's weather monitoring students demonstrated how they helped maintain the colony's special rain. They explained their work in simple terms that everyone could understand. Many visitors were amazed to learn how the rain helped keep peace in the colony. As evening approached, the celebration reached its high point. The rain turned silver in the setting sun, and the special minerals in it made everyone feel happy and peaceful. Families shared meals under the sparkling shelters, trading stories about their lives in the colony. Suji found Jiho watching the celebrations from a quiet corner. "Did you ever think you would find such peace after your life among the stars?" she asked. Jiho smiled, touching the compass in his pocket. It still pointed to the star guardian somewhere above, but his heart belonged here now, under the gentle rain. "This is a different kind of peace," he said, "one that comes from being part of something larger than yourself." The day ended with a special ceremony. Everyone gathered in the main square, holding lights that glowed softly in the rain. Together, they sang an old colony song about peace and unity. The rain seemed to sing with them, its drops falling in perfect harmony with their voices. As Jaiho looked around at the happy faces of his neighbors, human and alien alike, he understood why Serenity Colony had survived and grown for 50 years. This wasn't just a place to live. It was a place where peace wasn't just an idea, but a way of life that fell as gently as the rain. 1 year had passed since Jaiho first arrived at Serenity Colony. He sat on his porch early one morning, watching the rain fall on his garden. The rain channels flowed smoothly, making soft music as water moved through the bamboo pipes. His old plant from the ship had grown into a small tree. Its branches reached toward the rain, strong and healthy. Around it, earth flowers and alien plants grew together, creating a peaceful blend of colors and shades. As Jaiho drank his morning tea, his communication tablet lit up with a message. The sender's name made him smile. Hannah Kim, his former second-in-command. She had become captain of the Star Guardian after he left. Jaiho opened the message, and Hannah's familiar face appeared on the screen. She looked well in her captain's uniform, though he could see some gray in her hair now. "Hello, old friend," she said warmly. "I hope the rain is treating you well." She explained that she had been thinking about her own future. "I have served 25 years now," she said. "The stars are beautiful, but lately I find myself dreaming of rain and quiet mornings." She paused, then added, "Tell me about Serenity Colony. Could it be home for another retired captain?" Jaiho looked around his home as he composed his reply. So much had changed in just 1 year. His house had become a gathering place for friends. The garden hosted quiet meetings and teaching sessions. Young colonists came to learn about weather systems and water management. He wrote to Hannah about the special rain that helped everyone feel peaceful. He described the purple grain fields that moved like ocean waves in the wind. He told her about Suji's amazing plants, Du Young's wonderful bread, and Meirei's eager help with the garden project. "The colony needs more people who understand both Earth and space," he wrote. "Your experience would be valuable here, but more importantly, you would find peace here. The rain has a way of washing away the weight of command." As he sent the message, Jaiho remembered his own first day in the colony. He had been uncertain then, wondering if he could find purpose without his ship and crew. Now he knew that purpose could take many forms. Suji arrived with her morning basket of fresh berries. She had started bringing extra for Jaiho's weather monitoring students, who often came early to help in the garden before their lessons. "You seem happy this morning," she said, setting the basket on the table. Jaiho told her about Hannah's message. Suji smiled, remembering how quiet and reserved Jaiho had been when he first arrived. "The rain changes us all," she said softly. "It helps us find who we really are beneath our duties and responsibilities." Later that day, Jaiho took out his compass. The silver surface had developed a gentle patina over the year, but the needle still pointed faithfully toward the star guardian. He thought about Hannah up there, looking down at Serenity Colony and dreaming of rain. Tadwan and other students arrived for their weather monitoring lesson. As they reviewed the day's patterns, Jaiho noticed how confident they had become. They understood now that controlling the rain was not about power, but about harmony. That evening, as the sun set behind the rain clouds, Jaiho received another message from Hannah. She had submitted her retirement request. In 6 months, she would join him in Serenity Colony. Jaiho smiled, feeling the gentle rain on his face. He had found more than retirement here. He had found a new kind of life, where peace fell from the sky like rain, and every day brought quiet joys. Soon, his old friend would discover this too. The rain continued its endless, soothing song, promising peace to all who sought it.